It's time for a special edition of AFL Facts. Today, we will be looking at the AFL records you don't want to hold at the end of your career. Some of these relate to current and former players, while others are more team-based. To kick it off, let's have a look at new Essendon recruit Ben Mackay. The key defender will be hoping his time at the Bombers can swiftly turn around the team's success he's had in terms of wins. Looking at current day players and their win percentage for a minimum of 50 games, right at the bottom sits Ben Mackay. It almost sounds impossible, but the 26-year-old is yet to reach double-figure wins for his entire career. In his 71 games, he's been on the losing side 62 times, been in a draw once, and has just 8 wins. It comes out to a winning percentage of 11.97%. Not a good time to be at North Melbourne. Out of the bottom 20 current day players for win percentage, the last 5 are all at North Melbourne. Teammate Bailey Scott is a notch above at 12.18%, but him and Mackay both sit in the all-time bottom 20 for win percentage. The only active players on the list ranking 8th and 9th. Number 1 on that list will never be topped. Ted Hall played for St Kilda from 1897 to 1902. In total, he represented the Saints 73 times, which is very solid. It was unlucky for him that in those 73 games, he lost 72 times. 1 win for his career. Mackay's percentage is bad, but it's 10 times better than the 1.37% winning rate Hall finished with. Being a Western Bulldog fan myself, it was painful to watch the 2021 Grand Final. Not only that it turned into a loss from a 3-goal lead, but the absolute demolition job that happened. The margin ended up being 74 points with a scoring run in the game of 100-9. But out of every Grand Final ever, it is only the 9th biggest defeat. If we look at the top 5 biggest winning margins, 3 of them have come in this century. 2022 had Geelong dominate all day against Sydney to win by 81 points and mark back-to-back grand finals that ended in mismatches. The other was in 2019. Richmond were a power team and the Giants held off Collingwood at the prelim final but left the MCG beaten up. The following week, the Giants all looked like they were running up hills while the Tigers were running on air. GWS scored just 25 points and ended the game down 89. However, nothing will top 2007. It is by far the biggest margin between two teams on Grand Final day. Looking at historical betting lines, I did find that TAB had Geelong at $1.42 and Port set at $3. So coming into the game, the Cats were significant favourites, especially for a Grand Final. But no one would have seen what was about to come. 37-14 at quarter time represented the difference in quality between the two teams. 79-27 at halftime was when it got ugly, really ugly. Some of these highlights showed Geelong running through and around Port Adelaide players. They showed no mercy. Steve Johnson kicked 4 and had 23 disposals to win the Norm Smith, and all the stars in Matthew Scarlett, Jimmy Bartell and Paul Chapman excelled. The 97,302 people at the MCG witnessed a 119-point Geelong victory, which is 23 points higher than second place, when in 1988 Hawthorn beat Melbourne 152-56. It was the first of 3 Geelong premierships in that era and their most impressive display. It was a very good season for Essendon in 2001. They finished first on the ladder with 17 wins and just 5 losses. They made it to the grand final yet again, but were overpowered by the Brisbane Lions. No real shame, as those Lions went on to win 3 grand finals in a row. Maybe Essendon and football fans remember something else in 2001. Coming into round 16, the Bombers had only 2 losses and their opponent North Melbourne were doing okay, sitting 9th but with 8 wins and 7 losses. So imagine the shock of everyone at the MCG when this happened.
2 of his kicks have found key forwards. This one has found its way through for a goal.
So Sav Rocker Guides it. He's covered it beautifully. 8 goals for the Roos.
He's been a star this quarter. Wills him inside. Kicked the goal on top of magnificent. He has.
73-15 at quarter time. 58 points is already a big enough margin, but a couple extra goals had the lead sitting at 69 nearly halfway through the second term. But somehow, within the final half of the second quarter, Essendon would kick 9 straight goals. Matthew Lloyd got them going with a couple perfect set shots on his way to kick 9 for the day. A last-minute North goal had the game sitting at 97-76 at half-time. The margin would sit around 2 to 3 goals in the Kangaroos' favour heading into the final term. The teams kept on trading goals, but the Bombers hit the lead at 146 to 145 and wouldn't give it up. A remarkable 69-point comeback with a scoreline of 171 to 159. The teams kicked a combined 52 goals, which is still an equal high for goals kicked in a game in history. The losing score of 159 is the second highest ever, but sadly for North Melbourne, someone is going to have to come back from 70 plus points down to take away the record for the biggest comeback in AFL history. There is a lot of hype and expectation for number 1 pick Harley Reid. He looks physically developed and ready to play straight away. Majority of the former number 1 picks in recent times have all done pretty great. Jason Horne-Francis has shown great signs, Jamara Ugle-Hagan is growing every year, and Sam Walsh and Matt Rowell are walk-up on-ballers for their clubs. Besides some key forwards in Jonathan Patton and Paddy McCartan, most of the number 1 picks have had some level of success at the AFL level. Going through the list of these players since 1981 does have one standout by far. 6 first overall selections, not counting those from 2018 onwards, failed to reach 100 games. Anthony Bannick played 49 for Richmond, and Stephen Hooper played just 21 for Geelong. Hooper's 21 is still 5 times more than Richard Lounder, who sits atop of the list for the least games played, being drafted at pick 1. But this stat doesn't describe his time fully at Richmond, the side that picked him up in 1987. He actually didn't debut until 1989, spending time at Central District in the Sandful. At 203 centimetres and 116 kilograms, he is still the heaviest player to ever play for Richmond. The Man Mountain was athletic for his size, and it's what made him so attractive. In round 5, 1989, he was selected against North Melbourne.
His first VFL game coming from South Australia from directly in front, 12 metres out for the Tigers second, and he kicks it straight through the middle.
Could be a professional footballer or a professional wrestler. But if he can kick like that, I suggest he stays with football.
He's already kicked 2. He's normally a pretty good kick. Look at that. Caught in step, bang, right through the middle.
Away goes Poole. Steers the ball. Well, it's more than a steer. He's roosted it. And a mark to Lounder.
4 goals on his debut. Sadly, it was the best than VFL would see of him. 3 more games came for a single goal return, and he went back to the Sandful at the end of 1989. What seemed like the perfect start to a career ended instantly. He retired in 1991 at just 24, and not much else has been detailed about his life since.